And today we'll move into other areas of listening that get to do with our physical presence, our body language, the facial expressions. You need to listen with yourself, the total being present. Because when you're listening to somebody that says something that is fearful, and you start laughing, then it means something is wrong. Because the body language must correspond to whatever you've heard. It's very, very important. One other thing that you need to do to ensure that you are really listening to get the results from listening is that you pay proper attention to the body language. What is your body language speaking to the person? The body language may just be telling the person, I don't care. You just finished speaking, let me tell you my mind. Because if you are to even give minimal encouragements, it is not coming. There's the need for people to see, wow, sure, wow, all these things tells you that the person is with you.
Your inflections.
Oh, yes, the reflections are there. Tells you that the person is listening to you. We must ensure appropriate eye contact. Shouldn't be too low, shouldn't be too up, but that middle stage should be the way forward. If I'm speaking, when I started with you first, I know there's a portion for me to lecture before I engage you, but when I started lecturing and you were looking at me, you were also concentrating on getting some questions and those things, I was getting a bit closer. It's my gentleman with me, so you could see that I was paying more attention on you, but later I got to know that it's the portion for me to really engage our people outside there. So body languages are very, very important when it comes to our ability to listen. Now there should be a reasonable interpersonal space. Very, very important. When somebody is speaking to you and you are in 100 meters away, if it's not on phone, what are you hearing? Right? So very close to may not be that appropriate. So there is the need for us to maintain. If not, they would have put you very close to me here. But they have a way that we can really communicate and engage. So a reasonable space will really ensure that this person is an empathetic listener. It is only empathetic listener that give results. The rest may not earn you anything, but you may lose a lot from that. Appropriate voice, tone. Most of the time, if you are in your boss's office and you're speaking to your boss, and your boss seems to be listening, and there are times that they need to interject and find out certain things, whether they are really on the same level with you. Imagine you speaking undertone, and your voice, your boss start to speak very loudly. You will be scared. You will not even be. If you are not that strong, you may end up ending your story or whatever. So if you are also speaking to your voice, then appropriate voice volume is very, very important. We need to do that. Anybody that responds to you after listening to you with an appropriate voice, because when you go to somebody with an empathetic issue, an issue that is so pathetic, and the person starts to speak to you in response, or getting to know more, and the person starts shouting, sounding intimidating, it means the person did not listen. Because if the person has listened to you very well and not just getting ready to rebut, the person would have known that the situation of this person demands that I speak at a very low voice, and showing that kind of empathy and connection. Very, very important. Now, I also want leaders or business owners to be using more of one of the two types of questions that we have, the open and close. Now, the close one is good. We're not saying that deals with yes or no, that sort of. But I prefer the opening when it comes to empathetic listening, because we have what we call asking an opening question, give that person that excavator in order to pull more for you to really understand. So why did you decide not to come to work yesterday? You did not come to work yesterday, true or false? It's true. Sometimes it works, it's good. But when we're talking about...
It's even worse when the person say, boss, please let me know.
No explain.
Did you come to work or
not? I don't have time for those things. You're getting my point. Now, you will be empathetic listener when you open up, because the person may have other reasons. As I've told you, there's a feeling behind every behavior. So something might have necessitated that. There is a case in point when the manager, the company owner had wanted a resource. Now this person failed to tender in the needed information. And he said, why were you not able to at first, why did not come? But then what happens is that the subordinate, right, went ahead. He said, I don't like people that fail to give up, that fail to deliver. If you have told me you cannot deliver, I would have found a way to do. Now, how do I get to management meeting without this?
That was the opening statement.
That was the opening statement. You getting my point? And then when the subordinate went ahead and said, my child, I'm very sorry, sir. I know what you are feeling now. I know what you are going through. But my child was taken sick in the middle of the night when I was about to conclude. And when we get to the hospital, I was only given the opportunity to leave the hall at 7 o'clock, and I have to rise too. And the man said, why did you tell me earlier on? You getting my point? So if the man has been empathetic enough in his listening and communicating, he would have found out why you failed. I know you. I've worked with you for so many years. Why failure this time around? This is the open-ended question we are talking about. This is giving that person the opportunity to now come out and explain. That is where you can really learn. Now this leader is going to learn that when people fail, we must even go beyond and find out why they have failed. Because they take their salary from that. So if it is intentional, by being open question, giving them open question, it will by means come out, because the person is likely not to give you any tangible reason. In empathetic listening, you also need to be a facilitator and not the director. Somebody is speaking to you. You need to facilitate. Does it mean this is what really happened? You don't need to direct. That's the only way you can learn. Now, most of the time when we talk about communication, the leaders, the owners, the entrepreneurs want to speak and speak and speak and speak. But I was with one ICGC church this Sunday, Gahodumasi ICGC, and I told them that it is only when you listen that you learn. Today I'm here. If there's no opportunity for you to contribute, for me to get some feedback, I am coming to tell you what I know. So what have I learned? I've learned nothing. So you only learn when you listen. And when you fail to listen, you fail to grow, because you fail to what? To add to knowledge and other things. Now, we must also have the ability to listen with minimal interruptions, right? You are listening to, it's all about that person at that time. So keep your interaction to the barest minimum. Now you allow the person to really put across what he or she wants to tell you. It's very, very important. You suspend judgment. Suspend judgment. Rather be curious. Now when you put on hold judgment, then when you become curious, that is where you have the ability. Imagine, I was in a board meeting one of the time, and the board chairman, right, Dr. Mensah Otabil said, there's nothing